If you're interested in communicating with ETs, then this is going to be the video podcast for you. With us is a very special guest that I'm actually excited to bring on the show today from an undisclosed area in the Los Angeles area. Contact Tour, Tyler, and co-hosting with me is my friend Eric Coplen, who's going to touch on some consciousness stuff. Tyler, thank you for traveling here and being on the show.
Yo, thank you for having me. Round two.
Let's
get it.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties before, but second time is the charm, not the third.
All for the better.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's first off, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. We've seen it, and it's a third movie from, it goes Serious, Unacknowledged, and Close Encounters. Mm-hmm. You're focusing Contact Tour. First off, Contact Tour, tell us a little history on that. Mm-hmm. and some nuts and bolts on that.
So to give you a condensed overview of the origin of Contact Tour, it originally started as a touring EDM concert series, and we had 2 prototype shows in December of 2019 in Osaka and Tokyo, Japan, which sold out. And the whole aesthetic and theme of these shows was disclosure. And, in between the visuals of each act performing, it would be clips from Unacknowledged or Serious or actual UFO sighting videos and documents. And we were trying to subliminally message disclosure onto that demographic of attendees that go to events like that. So what ended up happening was, even though the shows were a success in sales and we sold out each show, when I got back to the States and I, contemplated how I thought the events were, maybe how could we improve or could we do things a bit differently, I came to the conclusion with myself that I don't think the message got across the same way I wanted it to get across. So I changed gears with the actual organization and started to primarily focus on becoming a CE5 initiative. So rather than just promoting the information, let's document experiences and really be the catalyst for people to realize they can go out and do this for themselves and they can experience contact and open their perspective of the true nature of reality, that we're not alone and we never been alone. And these ETs have been practicing reconnaissance over humanity for millennia. Perhaps even in ancient times, ancient civilizations have had close encounters with ET beings that, perhaps offered them guidance and information and even technology. And I feel as though we're coming around to that stage in our evolution again, where this opportunity is presenting itself. I mean, this opportunity has always been there, but now we're moving into the age of, the social acceptance, the dissolving of the stigma that's around this topic, and people are starting to take it seriously. So we just want to be a catalyst for people to have unbiased, mutual, transparent, authentic, and accurate information about all things that have to do with extraterrestrial intelligence and consciousness, and just open the floodgates, and then let disclosure happen the way it needs to happen through a movement by the people, and not an authoritarian figure or a middleman like the government or any corporate entity. We are a decentralized citizens diplomacy movement that is going to establish ambassadorial peaceful contact with interplanetary civilizations, and in doing so, our hope is to gain insights about the ETs, which will ultimately give us insights about ourselves, because the CE5 process is ultimately about self-improvement and raising your consciousness and opening your heart and transcending over any prejudice, preconceptions, or programming that you have from your upbringing or your environment or anything like that. So ultimately, I think that the CE5 movement is about unity and just going into the stars peacefully. We're at that point.
I think it's always interesting. Like there's always like we were talking about before, like there's a duality to things, right? There's always like 2 sides of everything.
Yeah.
Because in one sense, people look at like, okay, here's this like Age of Aquarius shit where it's like, you're gonna like, namaste over here and wait for the aliens to save us. And my crystal's going to this, whatever. And people look at that and they kind of glaze over a little bit. And funny enough, like as I've looked even into that kind of stuff, like I give it a little more credence than I used to, but I also like to balance things out with like some like grounded, just like, I think that truth often lies in the middle, or the useful information and the wise application usually lies in the middle. And with the UFO topic, what I've noticed, because this is something like my dad got me into since, I was a kid. I've been open to it, and I've always been fascinated with some of the most, cases, like amazing cases, like, astronauts and people that are like legitimate people. I'm not talking about like Bobby in his trailer park, where he took down a fifth of tequila and he saw the light in the sky. I'm talking about like an astronaut that has a lot to lose by like just making that kind of stuff up.
Yeah.
So that and many other cases. So people can, you can watch the documentary Unacknowledged, watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, make your own decision on that.
And also, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but a really great reference as to what you're saying with the credible witnesses. I highly encourage everybody to watch the 2001 National Press Club event that the Disclosure Movement organized. I think there was over 20 to 30, off the top of my head, I don't remember, 20 to 30 former government, federal, private sector, corporate personnel that testify having firsthand encounters, experiences, sightings, excuse me.
I'll put that link in the bottom of the description of the YouTube video.
I think it was the most watched National Press Club event of all time at that point, and then a month later 9/11 happened, so it completely overshadowed all that.
Well, I think the Press Club event was in May and September, so I think it was a couple months after that Press Club incident. There, the Twin Towers did collapse.
You're right on that. It was a couple months. I knew it was a close time frame.
It's a very close time frame.
The word, so just for example, that was a disclosure, right? So this word, like hashtag disclosure, right? This has been like the hot button phrase in, the UFO community and like the UFO just world altogether. And there's been two aspects of the main like vibe of like the disclosure thing has always been like, damn it, government, we know you got the shit. We know you're using this technology.
Show us them aliens.
We've seen Project Blue Book. We got all that. You're holding back all this technology that could save the world and get us off of oil and pull us into this, more utopic-like future. So what gives? Let's see it. Boom, boom, boom. And there's kind of like this like tension about it. Like, And Dr. Greer was one of those people early on in his career. He's the producer and the director of, the creator of Unacknowledged and those two documentaries and that event. And he, and now what, we're talking about the CE5 protocol or CE5 movement. That means Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And especially it's a 5-step protocol that people are invited to go out as a group of people with the intention to make contact, as wild as it sounds, to make contact with terrestrial and even extra dimensional civilizations, that life is much more diverse and interesting than we might think. And what this does is it shifts the dynamic of coming from this kind of victim, you're not letting us have our cookie, it's your fault and we blame you, government kind of thing, to saying, to stepping into a state of empowerment where as an individual you're saying, look, if this is really, if consciousness truly permeates the universe and that it's a constant and that it's, and that this is a form of communication can happen at these levels, then I can play a role, and that anything in the world around me or my experience of the world on some level is a reflection of myself and how I am showing up.
Entirely,
which is really part of what this kind of, let's call it new age or whatever aspect. It's really becoming more self-aware of and taking more accountability for how you show up affects the world around you directly and indirectly. And so that's why I was fascinated when Dr. Greer came out with this protocol. Jordan and I, we tried it once, like 2 nights ago. Of course, it was like full moon and like street lights and mosquitoes and, we got a little cold. So we came in after an hour and a half, but I know you guys have been putting teams together. You told us before you have military background. So you're like a trained observer, you know what to look for with stuff, you know what a satellite is, that kind of stuff. You guys have been having unique experiences using this protocol, and you're not alone. I've looked on his, even if you watch that Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which I believe is on Amazon and Google Play and maybe Apple TV.
Majority of streaming platforms.
Majority of those. You see on there, like people, a lot of testimonials towards the end of people that are doing it. You're seeing some footage that people are seeing, but the real message behind it is that it's something he's inviting you to go out and have the damn experience. Right? Make disclosure happen for you instead of waiting for it. And that intrigues me. So I want to hear what you guys have been doing and what your experience has been with those.
Spill the beans.
Spill the beans.
I think something...
You disclose.
I think something I want to comment on is I think there's there's this mindset that disclosure is going to be a singular event.
Yeah.
And it's not a singular event. This is much more multifaceted and complex than any of us can truly comprehend. I mean, from a standpoint of government and unacknowledged secrecy to the cosmology of what's truly around us that we can't perceive, and there's so many layers that have to be peeled back to even begin to have an understanding of what's truly going on. And I don't claim to understand what's truly going on. And unfortunately, I think the mass majority of people, they're all looking at the same object, to use the analogy, from a different angle and having different interpretations and perspectives, but not seeing the whole. Now, the reason why I feel as though the CE5 protocol is such a valuable tool and people opening themselves up to these experiences is that it gives you access to start understanding the bigger picture. It's one thing to sit home and allow a mainstream news media network to publish all these articles and findings of the potential threat that the unidentified aerial phenomena poses to our sovereignty and our airspace. And no one owns airspace. I mean, but not to get off topic. So, sorry. Disclosure is something that you have to make happen for yourself, and you have to allow yourself to accept new information, and don't let your ego get in the way of it. Now, it's been really refreshing for me personally to have this conversation with many people that are close to me, and for the first time, they're starting to have more of an open mind about it. Because for a long time, I mean, through my own personal experiences, I didn't want to share these these sightings with people because I understood the social stigma that's affiliated with it. So disclosure just happens on a personal level. We have to focus on the individual level, and then that will extrapolate into the collective, and it will become a global understanding. So essentially what we need to do is, like Dr. Greer says, and just for the record as well, if it was not for Dr. Greer and his moral courage and his commitment to his mission that he's been pursuing for essentially his entire life, Contact Tour wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be accepting the responsibility to put myself out there and my team out there and truly try to, website, contacttour.net. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Greer. If he sees this at any point, he is the catalyst and he is the reason for what you guys are looking at right there. The continuance of new technologies and cosmic telecommunications. That's what Contact stands for in the Contact Tour. So the continuance of new technologies is essentially through our research and the data and metrics we collect from going out on these expeditions and having these communications with the ETs. We hope to bring back new information, new insights, and eventually new technologies that can aid humanity and our planet to thrive and become a level 1 civilization, as Michio Kaku says. And so this is a passion project of mine that behind closed doors I've been pursuing for a very long time, but just recently, within the last 11 months, is something I decided now's the time, while we have this small window of opportunity, that someone, I mean, not just someone, all of us need to step forward and take responsibility for this information. And, the power is in our hands, the people, not these governing bodies that have continuously proven to us for decades that their motives and their mission is entirely pursuing self-interest, regardless of casualties or environmental catastrophe or cannibalizing the earth for its resources. But I don't want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on the past. I don't want to focus on the current situation and the current landscape, because that's self-evident and that's in our face all the time. So it doesn't make sense to beat the dead horse, so to speak, with what we're already experiencing on a daily basis. So we need to have our eyes on the far horizon and realizing that we can use the CE5 protocol, establish this relationship with the ETs, and propel our civilization into the next step of what we could be. And that's what we are.
Real quick, so how I found you was on Instagram.
Awesome.
Right, so yeah, I saw your videos because you post a lot of great footage of UFO sightings and people send you I bet people send you a ton of stuff.
Hundreds a week.
So you don't know the authenticity of it, and you put that in the description. You're like, I leave it up to you guys for your interpretation.
Yeah.
So because I saw Unacknowledged, about 3 years, Eric showed me Unacknowledged, and that's when I became all in. I was like, I need to look more into this. But Unacknowledged didn't give you, after Unacknowledged, it kind of leaves you with this like, oh my gosh, it's real. And there's unacknowledged black, projects that are going on and the president doesn't even know. So then you go down that rabbit hole. But then Close Encounters came out and says, well, now you can actually go out, make your contact yourself, and you don't need to rely on UFO footage on YouTube anymore. You can go out and record your own footage.
Yep.
But I still became a footage junkie, so I would look on your Instagram.
I still am a footage junkie.
Dude, I look on your Instagram on every video. I'm like, I gotta see, because if I gotta see Santa Claus as if he's real or not. You know what I mean? I gotta. But then I watched your interview with the director of Unacknowledged and Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind,
Michael Mazzola. Shout out to Michael. I love Michael.
It's so cool to hear that guy's story because he wasn't even a believer back in the day. But
he was actually, and I'm speaking on Michael's behalf here. I know he's going to watch this. Hello, Michael. He was an offensive skeptic. So he would actually, I feel as though, enjoy to a certain degree, like debunking people, But but he's changed now.
Yeah, the guy who makes the biggest UFO watch documentary in the world was the biggest skeptic.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah.
But at the very end, you gave him 3 minutes for the floor before you ended that interview, and he said something that was just super profound. He says, just go out and do it. And it was kind of like this Nike, just do it. Yeah. I was like, dude, he's right. I just got to do this, dude. I'm done watching footage. I got to go out and disclosure for myself. And I told Eric, I watched Tyler's interview with the director of Close Encounters, man. We just got to do it. And Eric, next day, he's like, let's go do one. I was like,
nice.
That's what I'm talking about. And then I was the first one to say, let's go back. It was too cold, man. But
you got to bundle up if you're going to get
bundle up.
Yeah.
But
after he read me the 5 steps of the program, make sure you bundle up and all that. And so I did. And he comes out and he's like, I'm cold, man. It's like, bro. I'm out here
in a shorts and t-shirt. Yeah.
I thought it was summer, man.
Yeah.
No, but so watching your stuff now, you're hanging out with the people that made the film. You're having some profound experiences. I mean, how many CE5 protocols have you done personally?
Off the top, so documented that you can see.
Just know for yourself. How many?
Yeah, I think at this point personally, I go out every other night on my balcony and practice CE5.
Okay, this is like your gym.
Yes, yeah. So pretty much, I exercise just as much as I do CE5, a lot.
Gosh.
And I go out to my balcony every other night, and I think it was last week I saw 6 sightings just off my balcony, just from meditating and vectoring with my laser. Then I even had to wake up Sharon and say, hey, our star friends are outside. If you want to come say hi. She came outside. Then we saw 2 of them just come. They materialized and dematerialized. So I'm just at the point right now. It's so real to me, and it's my truth, and it's my purpose. And realizing something that profound is an absolute game changer for you as an individual, and then how you can serve the collective. Because take responsibility for the information and realize that a symptom of what starts to occur the more you practice CE5 is you realize your co-manifesting ability, not only for inviting interplanetary civilizations or interdimensional civilizations to come and peacefully engage with you in a way that's safe for them and safe for you. I mean, intention's actually the most important variable of the protocol. Why are you going out here and doing this? If you're trying to go out there and you're expecting a pony show and some aerial stunts, that's not what's going to happen. Like, this is much bigger and has massive implications. This isn't something you can go out and just do for entertainment. It has to become something that you have to truly realize what it is you're doing. These are not just random lights in the sky. These are not atmospheric anomalies. These are not satellites. These are not conventional aircraft. These are civilizations that are substantially farther advanced than us. if not hundreds of thousands of years to millions of years or more than that. They have technological capabilities that we can't comprehend and would be indistinguishable from magic. Okay? So approach it with that mindset. Be humble. Understand that they're benevolent and they're peaceful. And I have to emphasize this, and this is the biggest point of our mission, is we have to emphasize the fact that there is zero evidence besides the disinformation propaganda and the counterintelligence that has been deployed by certain factions within the military-industrial complex to stage false ET abductions and cattle mutilations. And Skinwalker Ranch has been infiltrated by these same organizations. They're the ones dropping all these cattle mutilations. It's not ETs. And what you have is you have a terrain that you have genuine ET activity happening that's either mutual or benevolent, and then word and the intelligence gets out about the location and the likeness of these occurrences, and then they get intercepted by covert operations to flip it into being some type of threat. Okay? That's something we have to combat. And the way we're going to combat this is by presenting the information and the facts to the public that you can go out and have peaceful, transcendent experiences using the CE5 protocol. And then we realize that the puppet masters of society that have been trying to dangle the fake UFOs around to make things look scary, and they control Hollywood and they control the media, they're completely wrong. They're completely wrong.
I always imagine that scene, you know, like on Independence Day when they're take us up. Someone's like,
That's
you know, like,
it's not the case.
I have an interesting little anecdotal story here. So when I watched the documentary, I was fascinated. So I did try some just solo CE5 stuff, more like because I do daily meditation often anyway. And so I remember just sitting out the back of my house during the day in the morning, having, you know, a smoothie. And I was doing a mindful meditation, and then I said, I just like feel like doing this, you know, this the principle of the CE5. And so I was imagining connecting and just thinking about other consciousness out there and how they could be just as sentient as me, and just connecting with that and inviting and say that and opening and to welcoming and even being honest about, like, maybe I have a little fear about that.
And that's natural. That's natural.
And so 2 days after I did that, I had this incredibly vivid dream that I was in some kind of like little mobile home, and I remember pulling out the curtains, the first scene, and I see a moon, it's like a full moon, and there's clouds, and I can't see the moon, but I can see the clouds are backlit by the moon, and I can see stars through the clouds. There's an opening where there's no clouds, and right in that opening, 5 bright white, like disc-shaped objects. It wasn't star-shaped, but they actually, I could see the actual, almost like the contour.
Like oval.
With like, you know, there. And then they started moving. I remember it was kind of surprising. I backed off the window, and I backed up to where now the curtain was in front of me, and then I could see lights flickering over the house. And I backed into another room, and I had this impression that maybe my sister was there, but she was like asleep and couldn't wake up. And then I had this little thought of, just the littlest thought of kind of like fear, abduction, that Hollywood movie thing hit me. And I woke up and absolutely terrified. I woke up and I've never had like that I've never had that happen like that. And I woke up and I remember getting like trying to pee, and I had like chills just running down my whole body. And I had insomnia for 2 weeks.
Yeah, he did.
After this.
He told me that experience.
I had to really process this. And listen, I can't explain anything other than I had a visceral, like even when I'm saying it, I feel something. So I had an experience. To me, like, I feel at least the value I could get from it. I can't say for sure anything because it's a mystery. But I almost feel like it was at least my subconscious telling me, showing me where I needed to evolve and what fear I needed to route out of myself so that I could actually be ready to witness something like that. Because it obviously showed me that on some level there was still some latent fear from just the way I was brought up, the movies you watch, those kind of things. So
I experienced that myself too.
Okay.
And to touch on what you're saying, I don't think that's something that ever truly evaporates. It's something that you can just learn how to sit with and acknowledge it, and then just let it subside. And not to backtrack the conversation, but I didn't fully answer your question of how many CE5 expeditions I've done, and this touches back into that point of the fear. That just it's like a natural fight or flight response that just biologically, humans, we have that to the unknown. So besides the fact I go out to my balcony every other night and do CE5, I think collectively at this point we've done at least 7 expeditions, and then I think only 5 of them are actually up on our platforms.
Gotcha.
But every expedition, I feel this same type of programmed response of fear to the unknown, especially something like that. I mean, you have movies, War of the World, Independence Day, Cloverfield.
Yeah, it's always the sucker who thinks that they're gonna, love you, then they're like, haha.
Fire in the Sky. There's a movie called Fire in the Sky.
I've seen that. I saw that when I was a kid.
That I heard about, right? And it sounded so profound and so just horrifying. I was like, I have to actually see this for myself and really see what Hollywood's painting out here. And I went and watched that film, and it was horrifying. I watched that, and I was kind of taken back. I was like, if this is what people are expecting, and this is what they picture and affiliate when they talk about UFOs, this is not good. This is not a good. This is not a good position for us to be in. We have to change this narrative.
Yeah.
So it's important that we go out and we do this, and I guess that's really all there is to it. Besides all these other smaller projects that we have within Contact Tour, how eventually we want to develop a multimedia branch and then put out music and documentaries and turn our CE5 expeditions into a docu-series, and we want to invest into research and development in new technologies, and we want to create cosmic communication systems. At the core root of all this, we just want people to go out and do CE5. Just open yourself up, suspend your fear, and go out and give this a try, and you will be absolutely amazed. So to give you a quick little story, I'm originally from New Jersey. I went home recently within the last few months and seen my family, who I don't see very often, and we were catching up about everything that's been going on, and obviously, we talk about Contact Tour, and I was chatting with my brother about this. I love my brother to death. He's never been a skeptic, but he never necessarily has been a believer. He's very open-minded. And I was showing him all the footage. He goes, yeah, it's probably, everything you're saying to me makes sense. Let's try it. And I was like, oh, okay, let's go out and do it. Let's give it a shot. So, my family, we have a bunch of military vehicles because my dad was a civilian contractor that worked at Fort Dix Naval Base, and he exercised equipment. So he ended up buying and selling and trading a bunch of military vehicles. So my brother, his wife Sharon, and I, we took a 5-ton military deuce into the woods and just drove it into an area where you could not go if you did not have a 5-ton military truck. And we got out there and we ended up coming to this opening, and we broadcast the tones through a little speaker, which I know really doesn't necessarily make too big of a difference if you're not broadcasting it through a transmitter, so it can go longer distances.
Gotcha.
But locally, you can still hear it for up to 200-300 meters. So, just a general pinpoint of where we are.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there vectoring the lasers. Sharon and I meditated. Colin and his wife didn't meditate. He's like, yeah, I'll sit out here, but I'm not going to meditate. I'm just going to let you do it and see what happens. And that's literally how it went. So Colin had the laser. We gave his wife the night vision. I was like, yeah, Colin, just make some circles, anything that calls out to you. I was like, Amanda, if you see anything moving through the night vision, let us know. And we saw, an actual craft appeared very briefly. I think it was only there for maybe 20 seconds. It was really quick, in and out. And we see this amazing sighting, and I was taken back by it. I'm taken back every time. I'm like, holy shit. I was like, yes. I was like, thank you for this sighting. I appreciate it. And I hear my brother behind me goes, what the fuck? And that's really the way it went. And I looked at him. I was like, right. He goes, yeah. He's like, what was that? And then 2 nights later, my last night home, we ended up having a small bonfire at my neighbor's house across the street. And it was a few friends, Sharon and myself. My brother was there again, and not even practicing the protocol, not even just hanging out and being social with each other and just really vibing and having such a good time, because these are people I've known for such a long time who I don't see very often. So just this flow of lifelong friends,
Yeah.
And we had 6 sightings above us.
Wow.
Just from flickering the laser, and and Colin was doing it. I gave him the laser, and he was just like, all right, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And we had 6 of them show up. Then interestingly enough, off of the tree line on the horizon, because I grew up only about half an hour, 45 minutes away from Fort Dix. And it's McGuire Air Force Base. They're a joint service facility, so they're 2 posts in one. We saw a C-130 go up above the horizon, the tree line. And we're down like the Pineys, just in the backyard, burning wood and seeing these craft come in and out. And I was like, that's strange. I was like, they're probably just doing, normal routine, normal exercise. I mean, you got to exercise the equipment. And shortly afterwards, maybe 20 minutes, we had 2 Blackhawks come in about, I'd say maybe like a quarter mile, half a mile around our position where we just were. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting too. But I have a rule that once is luck, 2 is coincidence, 3 times is data. So I was like, okay, if I see something else, then it probably has to do with the ET showing up. And then we had one helicopter come in maybe only a couple 100 meters above where we were, and in the middle of the pines, like boony, not necessarily boony, but we are in the cut, we are in the woods, and right where the craft were appearing, this helicopter comes in with no signaling lights on, no indicators, pitch black, just comes in, just flying over and making its rounds.
Wow.
And that was confirmation for me that the military is aware. I mean, they're picking up these things on every form of radar that we have. They're probably coming in on a daily basis by the hundreds, if not, who knows, maybe even thousands. And the public isn't going to know about this. So when I saw that, and everyone with us saw that, and no one in the group besides Sharon and myself and my brother, whose first time doing CE5 was only 2 nights before, they all witnessed these 6 different crafts show up and the military movements that occurred shortly afterwards. And that all really solidified the notion with them, like, holy shit.
Yeah. How real it is.
This is real. Like, this is a real phenomena. And a piece of me wants to, and I have to be mutual about this. I will never say anything a matter of fact except for my own experience, because I have nothing to gain out of this except for my own personal mission that I want this world to be a bit better off from where I first came into it, by any means necessary, to the best of my ability, with all the resources and everything I have to bear. That's all I want out of this. So, I guess, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here.
No, that's awesome. That's an awesome story.
I was asking you, like Greer's getting old. He's about 70 now. Yeah. You're like, we have to keep spreading the message. Yeah. And I was telling Eric, like, dude, like, because we're really good at video marketing. So I was like, man, if there's a way we can, like, first we want to experience this CE5. So it's kind of like a selfish thing. I really want this for myself. So obviously that's why I wanted you to come on the show, so you can help me and help everyone else experience it.
Thank you.
They need to experience it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I want to just see what kind of message we can hit. That's like why we're here today, is so we can empower people to go out and make contact. Because what's the benefit, Eric, when people are making contact and we're bypassing government, they're having their own disclosure?
I think it's a fair question, because I'm a sales and marketing expert. I have studied how, like, the buyer cycle and why people do things and what motivates you. And no one does anything unless they have some kind of motive or reason, and it has to benefit them in some way. They got, and it's someone who's like, like, I'm going to school or I'm this, whatever, why should I bother, going out in the woods and wanting to see that? Well, if you feel that way, maybe you don't need to, right? Yeah. It's not about like you should or you're wrong if you don't. It's not about that. But let's put it this way. For myself, I can only speak for myself. I think that many people like me, is that I've always had a fascination and a curiosity and wonder about the world. I think it's a fundamental drive in human nature. I think it's why we're going to be fascinated with even Elon Musk launching his rockets, even if they are old school compared to UFO technology. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be fascinated by, as a kid, there's a wonder about the world, a need to explore, because we know, like, I'll put it this way, the universe is constantly expanding. Yeah. So the question is, are you? Yeah. Right. And so, do you want to expand, or do you want to just like keep kind of the nose in the sand? And if in the vastness of seemingly infinite space, and that's just on the physical plane, we only see like 0.5% of 0.5%. It's amazing how little we actually see. Yeah, we see less than 5% of the light spectrum. Yeah, so oh my God, you start to wonder: is it seeing that is believing, or believing that is seeing? It's like you get this kind of both things going on. But there's more out there. If you really will just like get your look beyond the mainstream media and just the news channel, and just kind of like do a little bit of your own research. I'd say watch Unacknowledged. Watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, probably in that order. I can guarantee you this: you can't walk away from those documentaries and with those testimonies with at least knowing that the military and the government takes it seriously.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but I promise you they do.
Yeah.
And they're putting real money to it. The Pentagon has come out with it.
$22 million
Correct.
allegedly went into the Pentagon's
Yeah.
Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And that's acknowledged funds.
Or like
okay?
22 trillion.
It could be substantially higher than that.
One other thing I want to touch on, I think a lot of people have, some people, not as much now, but it still exists where people, they feel there's some fear about having your worldview or your paradigm shifted. The unknown is always going to be something we tend to be curious about, but resist at the same time.
Yeah.
And you got to find your own balance as to what you're ready for and not. It can people can assume that maybe it might threaten some type of maybe religious belief and these kind of things.
Yeah.
I found that I know that my personal experience is that there's a source that the creative force of reality is the best word for it really is love. Love is not something that we make. It's something that we have to find, and that it's something that kind of transcends just us as humans. It's just there. That's my personal opinion on it. Wow. And I think that if you're someone who wants to experience more, and you realize that there could be more out there, I've never found anything, funny enough, that really is that threatening of anything. As a matter of fact, it usually is something that is not usually, it's always been the case that it's been in some way more empowering. Yeah. I've actually gained a deeper understanding of even things like, regardless of what your feelings of Jesus is, when I read his words, I find even deeper meaning and understanding in the things he taught. When he would talk about things like, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain. Then you begin to understand how maybe a mustard seed is just pure consciousness. It doesn't have the ability to question. No, it just does. It just is. Yeah. And that just being and just is what allows us to go that next level and expand. And I don't think by any means that we're alone in the universe or in the multiverse. Mm-hmm. And if there is something out there and there's a way to reach and transcend, and why wouldn't there be something to gain from that?
There's countless reasons that we need to be doing this. Countless. Besides the benefits that we would gain for our civilization technologically, just a matter of having a future off our planet potentially. We've been since the early industrial revolution of the late 1700s, early 1800s. We've been essentially all of our energy comes from the combustion of fossils and dead plants. That's not sustainable. Okay, and we can't keep moving this direction, and we're starting to get to a bit of a dangerous slope here when our technological progress is outpacing our spiritual progress. And even as Albert Einstein says, and I love this quote, actually it was up on the website, but no problem can be solved within the same state of consciousness that created it. So why do we keep having the same issues? Why do we keep expressing the same ideas and concepts and we get the same results? We're going through this process of insanity, and we think that we have to be divided through our political ideologies or our sexual orientation or geographically where you're from on the planet, or you're on this side of this line, that means that as a border, and you're on this side of that one, and we have to be like this. To truly expand and to become that level 1 civilization, we have to transcend borders. We have to transcend anything that divides us, marginalizes us, degrades us, or alienates us from one another. And that's all we're experiencing right now. And again, I don't want to focus on that because I know we're on the timeline and we're working towards the future where all of these programs will dissolve. But I guess that the real mission here is to just work on yourself. Yeah. And
everyone has a hot button. Everyone has they have to make it their own benefit in their own life, and maybe it's and for many people won't be the right time, and that's okay but there may be some other spiritual principle or principle of expansion that is, and all roads lead to Rome in one sense, right? Yeah. This is one we're obviously ready for here in this room. That's why we're talking about it. And you hit on something that really resonates with me, and that is the power of the individual to become self-aware of how they are showing up. Yeah. This is so important because when you talk about the problems in the world and what's going on, look for that in yourself and you'll find it.
Yeah.
And you heal it here first. And when you heal it here, it begins to shift the world around you. And it's like that movie.
As above, so below.
Yes, that's a great philosophy. What's the movie with the one, the Pay It Forward? Remember that one, the Pay It Forward? It has that kid who was in, he was in, not Signs, but I See Dead People. You know. It's about Haley Joel Osment or something like that, right?
I can't think of it.
But he was like a kid, and he was different, but he had so much love, and he taught people this principle: pay it forward. It was a school project, and it ended up becoming this like viral thing, and it went from the movie to the real world. I remember this happening. Wow. It's kind of like when The Secret, came out and all that. But this idea of that when you pay it for what you want to see and how you want to be treated. I mean, all the great philosophers, Jesus taught this, Buddha taught this, things that it's easy to love a friend, but to be able to love your enemy and find the common ground with them, that's real power. That takes courage, and that takes healing within you and to forgive both within and then without. And I think this is all connected to that, because if that's how we evolve, and that's consciousness, which is constant and independent of a human being. Okay, consciousness permeates all, and there's a path of expansion. That means all sentient conscious beings must abide by these principles, right? And this is my thoughts on it. So I think that's why whenever you seek expansion of consciousness, you're attracting other beings that are in alignment with that they're saying they're ready. We can meet them at a level that they're ready at, but not more, because that would be a violation of their agency to do that.
And plus,
it causes more harm than good.
And to touch on a really specific instance of that, you'll only experience what you open yourself up to experience, if that makes sense. You will go out there and have the sighting that you're ready to have. And that's just case in point. You can't approach this from a closed-minded, skeptical,
I'll see when I believe it. Prove it to me. You
know what I'm saying? It's something that
because that's obviously evident that you have resistance in already, and you're not meant to be pried open. Not God, if you believe in God, there's a reason he doesn't peel his head to the curtain. Yo, what up? Here I am. Right?
Exactly.
Like, find me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Kind of. And actually, I was having a conversation with my cousin Muhammad over the phone a couple weeks ago, and him and I were talking about the ETs and contact, because he had an incredible encounter experience, not even a sighting, something that was 10 feet away from him.
Oh, wow.
And Muhammad, prior to this, he doesn't look into the subject. He's not really too keen on ETs or UFOs or anything but he knows I am, and we love each other. And so we were talking about it, and he's like, "Yo, T," he's like, "I gotta show you some footage, bro." And I was like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he has a security system outside his house, like the security cameras, infrared. And this orb appeared on his front lawn that was just sitting there stationary, kind of go up into the tree, go into the road, come back. And he was just sitting up. It was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and he saw this. And he goes outside to see what it is. And he checked the camera to see if there was dust or bugs or a web or some debris that's close to the camera that's creating it. Perfectly clean, nothing on it. He was looking around to see if it was some type of reflection from light. He was seeing if it was cars passing by making some type of, I don't know, like some type of optical illusion. And he was out there and he couldn't figure out what this was. But he said he felt such an intense feeling that it almost made him uncomfortable. Like his hairs were standing up, that something was there. And he went back inside and played back the footage of when he went outside and checked out the area where the orb was. Man. And the orb was only 6, 7, maybe 8 feet away from him, really close range. And you could see Mo looking like directly in the direction where this orb was coming from. And he was kind of getting taken back by it. And he's like, I gotta go inside. This is crazy. Then as he walked away, the piece of the orb extended out, almost trying to reach towards him as he walked away. And then it kind of just went back in, and then the orb just eventually vanished. And if I had to describe my cousin Mo, he's the most optimistic, loving, compassionate, heartfelt guy I've ever met in my life. Like, he's always that dude that's just always just so expressive and happy. And so I understand why, perhaps maybe some type of astral light entity would be attracted to Mo. He's good vibes. The guy walks in a room and his charisma is so contagious. Like, you're like, Mo, Muhammad. Like, I love him, bro. I love Muhammad. And he called me and he was kind of shook up about this. He's like, bro, yo, T, I don't know what the fuck that was, bro. And he showed me the footage. So it's like, this is happening all the time to people. And I'm very confident not everyone sharing their experiences with everyone else, because that's quite the conversation to have. How do you initiate that conversation, like with your boy that you're not, or one of your homies that you're like, I'm not sure how they're going to receive this, or how is their view of me going to change? All these very egotistical questions that make you more reserved, but no, people just need to start having the conversation. I love these conversations. I love these conversations, and
every night, me and this guy, man. I mean, for hours, we have to call it. Right, we have to go to bed eventually. But so I mean, speaking of it, we should call it about this time. So real fast, how could people follow you, and what are you up to right now with Contact Tour that people could be more involved with you?
Well, we got the website pulled up right here. Let's take a look.
There we go.
So we mentioned earlier that people may be looking for information on this subject, and people are looking for a community of like-minded individuals they can have this discussion with, judgment-free. We have our ambassador program.
I see that here.
Okay. So our ambassador program. The ambassador program is essentially a way for our community to become more directly involved in our mission by not only providing a source of funding for our team and our organization to start developing the different projects we want to develop, and then we can recycle it back into our mission. But they receive benefits that can be different types of tools and resources that have to do with this subject matter. So if we scroll down a little bit here, website looks good. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is our contribution delegation. I'm all about transparency. So for a $5 monthly contribution, people can become members of our ambassador program, and they gain access to our confidential archives. We upload monthly CE5 guided meditations. They get weekly mission update emails. They get access to our weekly live streams, where it's essentially like a one-on-one chat forum that's private through our program.
Awesome.
And we're creating more and more benefits that they're going to be able to receive. And when you join the ambassador program, you receive exclusive invitations to come out with us and join us on expeditions.
Oh, very cool.
So we're trying to create the most value that we can provide our community and give them the tools and resources to really become involved in this field, while simultaneously creating a funding mechanism so we can continue to grow. Because everything up to this point has been entirely self-funded myself, which I don't have to give you an actual number, but a number has gone into this. And that's unfortunately not self-sustainable. I can't just rely on, personal finances to grow and what we want to develop as a nonprofit organization. So right here we have how all of the $5 monthly contributions are going to be delegated. So 25% will go into field equipment and expeditions. So upgrading our optics, purchasing new walkie-talkies if things break, just basic maintenance of the equipment we need to collect the data and metrics. Research and development, we want to start creating and assembling different communication devices that can be implemented during the CE5 protocol to, I guess, enhance the experience. So right now we're working on a CE5 transmitter, which is ultimately a speaker that has a laser built into the main cabinet that vibrates the laser at the same tones that as the CE5 tones. So like it's like do, and it'll move the frequency within that same pattern. And within that same device, there's going to be a radio transmitter that will broadcast the tones for over 30 miles. And our really good friend Adam Curry is actually designing a circuit board that will detect electromagnetic field readings. So we're trying to develop this device that's a one-stop shop that you can bring out with you into the field, power it with some mobile power supply, and then it's going to send out your vector, it's going to broadcast your tones, and it's going to collect electromagnetic field readings.
Now, something I think would probably be important to clarify, just for people to be like, well, how are you going to send a radio signal across the universe? I don't think that's how it works. I think what it is, you're using consciousness to draw them in mental vectoring with like we're Earth and this kind of thing. And then once they're within a vicinity, that helps kind of close that final gap,
exactly.
Right?
So the most important variable in the CE5 protocol is the meditation and something we call CTS, which is coherent thought sequencing. So all of us within the group focus onto a single intent.
Gotcha.
And we have a team mantra that we use. It's we intend to make peaceful contact with benevolent beings of love and light. Present yourself in a way, or we invite you to present yourself in a way that is safe for you and safe for us.
Gotcha.
You're welcome to join us. And we'll just keep repeating that mantra in our head, or something within that guideline. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. But yeah, so that device will essentially kind of close the gap. So once they materialize into this physical third density, they're going to be receiving radio transmissions for up to 30 miles of where we are. They're going to be seeing a laser going into the air that's moving and at the same vibration. Yeah, at the same.
That's quite the vibration.
Yeah, at the same vibration of the tones, and it's going to essentially just hone in on where we are. So we're developing that, but that obviously will take some funds to put that together. Then our multimedia production, we're trying to create and deliver really engaging and compelling recaps of our expeditions, and eventually we want to create a documentary series that's also called Contact Tour, where we just record our expeditions internationally from around the world and present our findings to people in like a really personable, entertaining way.
Yeah.
You know, you guys can watch a few of them. They're up right now.
You're always promoting on your stories. So you swipe up to check it out. And
And then lastly, and actually one of the most important ones is our online advertising. And I'm sure you understand the importance of online advertising, reaching the demographic of people that will be the most receptive to this information. As Greer says, we only need to reach 1% of the population. That's not that much. That's, I think, only 72 million people. And right now, on a weekly basis, Contact Tour is receiving 660,000 impressions. So we're not that far off.
That's awesome.
We're not that far off. I mean, I see the true potential in this organization that within the next 5 years, as we focus and hone in on these 4 different fields of what we're going to be working on, I mean, the future is limitless.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to join the ambassador program, I appreciate it. And you're truly helping a cause that we have humanity's best interest in mind. We have the Earth's best interest in mind.
Yeah.
And we just appreciate everyone that's a part of the community. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely, first off, we'll put all your information in the description on the YouTube video. But that's how I saw you. I see all these videos, and I love the content you're putting out. So
thank you.
Yeah, you seriously are making a huge difference. I mean, that's why we're talking today, because you're inspiring me to take more action like this to get the word out, because there's people like you that are going to help the 1% really shift. And
that's it.
Eric has catapulted me in the consciousness aspect, because I was never a meditator. I was just a filmmaker, wanted to make comedy videos, go to Hollywood and do that. But now it's like, obviously I still want to do that. I like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger stuff. That's my side passions. But I also love
help. Be out there like Freddy Krueger, like bring him love and peace.
The real dream, not the nightmare. Yeah. So no. And by the way, I love how you're a DJ, and in the future you want to do like a consciousness EDM. Like that's exciting stuff.
And once the COVID-19 pandemic's over and everything resolves itself, we are going to be fully back and running with our events again. And they're going to be international, and they're going to be huge. And we're bringing on a multitude of different artists from all different genres. And we're going to create just transcendent experiences that are going to help elevate humanity and empower us to reach our full potential. I mean, the ETs clearly see our own potential perhaps more than we see it for ourselves. So it's time for us to acknowledge that. And that's what we're about.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Eric, anything closing statements, my man?
No, I don't think there's that much more to say, man. I think my biggest takeaway is I'm really ready to get out there and just have my own experience with it. I've had so many other experiences. I'm like almost thinking, like,
you guys are going to come with us now.
This experience.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm down for that, and 100%, 1,000%, and then some. So
awesome. Yeah, and if you guys want to check out any of our sightings, they're all on our website. Like, you guys can go on our website. I tried making this as in your face as possible. Like, just go to our website, evidence, CE5 initiative, tons of material.
Yeah.
Tons of material.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So there you have it. So if you're interested, here we go. So if you're interested in learning how to make contact with ETs, I encourage you guys to check out the Instagram Contact Tour, Tyler's information. And if you want to get more involved, check out the Ambassador program. And if you have any sightings or like that, he encouraged you guys to send it to you as well, right?
Info@contacttour.net.
Info@contacttour.net. Send that to him.
Not to the Instagram DMs.
Not
please.
to the,
Please,
yeah, no,
God.
you brought me off the Instagram. Like, no
don't
more
be sliding those UFO sightings in the DM.
Don't be sliding my DMs with the sightings.
Slide them somewhere else.
There's going to be a new Tinder with people only interested in UFOs.
UFO match.
UFO match.
UFOmatch.com.
Yeah.
It's
All
not
right.
real.
Like and subscribe, guys. I will see you in the other astral side. We'll get to that next podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Second time was the charm,
That was the charm,
I
bro.
thought the second one